This is the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with your host, Vicki Davis.
Looking to revolutionize your classroom with exciting, interactive, and free digital lessons? Stay tuned to learn how EverFi can empower you to bring 21st century real-world skills to your students, even if you're short on time. Take a step into the future of education with EverFi right after today's show. So I'm so excited today to talk to my friend Rachelle Dené Poth. She's an ed tech consultant, presenter. Yes, she's an attorney, author, teacher. She does so many different things. You're still a teacher in the classroom though, right, Rachelle?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And those of you who went to ISTE will recognize her from the ISTE mainstage. Those of us who do AR and VR recognize her as our go-to guru for all of those things and more. And I hope you'll check the show notes for all of her many credentials and awards. And Rachelle, so today we're going to talk about what's hot in AR, VR, the intersection of AI and AR and VR. And so you're fresh back from ISTE, even though this will air in the fall. What was hot?
Yeah, a lot of things, which probably for the last 5.5 years at different conferences, ISTE of which is one of those, I have been presenting. I have a session that I've done because I can never just narrow it down to one thing. So I've been doing a session that's like immerse students in learning, AR, VR. I added in XR and then I had the AI. So it's a nice combo of all of those topics. And those were the biggest topics that I found as far as like immersive technologies and emerging technologies while at ISTE. And I had a session on Monday morning. It was like a 90-minute workshop and it was a sold out session. So I was pretty excited about that. Like people getting up early on a Monday, but the levels of, the interest has definitely increased. I've seen with every passing conference, and also the level of comfort, especially with AI. I noticed like back in December, I did a session in Tennessee. I did one in January at FETC, and I always use a survey to see, what people's interest is, what their concerns are. And it has really kind of shifted to more of a, I don't really know if I need to know how to do this. I don't know where to begin. Should we be using this? And a lot of negative, they're all concerns. They were more on the negative kind of side. Like, I don't know. Now it's shifted to, I want to learn this. I know that I need to understand this. I'm curious about it. And even the level of like how people rate themselves has gone up a little bit. So it's just neat to see the people having conversations and embracing it more. And then there were great opportunities. There were tons of sessions. ISTE had the ISTEverse, which is a 3-day experience for AR, VR, and that was awesome. And then other organizations had things set up too. So it has definitely increased in terms of interest from people, but also I think more of a willingness to take that risk and dive in, even if you think, like I used to say, I'm just a Spanish teacher. The word just that goes in there because you don't see that it's relevant to what you're doing, but you can have it in all levels. So it's been neat to see its gradual increase in conversations and in application in the classroom.
So in June, as you know, Apple announced their, I guess, AR glasses, which aren't out yet. We're looking at 2024, I think is what I read last. So it's interesting that they're going with augmented reality versus Meta, which went, of course, full VR. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's what a lot of my students were asking. Well, one, they're like, are we going to get some of these in our classroom? And like, no, not unless you're bringing them in or, we just, who knows? But I don't know if my perception of it, it seems like maybe that's kind of on the business move side of it, because it is such a big investment in creating these products and you don't know what the response is going to be. So testing it out in like one area first, maybe potentially, or maybe they see more applicability and different uses like in the classroom for augmented reality, just like other augmented reality apps that we're using that seem to be more like hands-on, and you can kind of compare and contrast like something that's like real in your world with something that's not real and have that experience. So that's just my initial kind of, I wonder why they would do that. Maybe it's a competitive thing too, like what's already out there. All right, let's take what they have and kind of up it a little bit. Who knows? We'll see what happens over the next couple of months or even years if they add on more or how the features change and what the response is.
So, I've always thought augmented reality had so much potential for teaching. For example, you teach Spanish. It could label it could talk to you in Spanish. It could immerse you in everything Spanish. There's so many possibilities, but There's a great book that my computer science students and I study called The Future is Faster Than You Think by Peter Diamandis. And he says that when AI jumps on the back of any technology, the change becomes exponential. So, what do you think about AI jumping on the back of AR, augmented reality, and VR, and where do you think this is heading?
That's the big $1 million question right now, because like, and too, with like all things, when you talk about anything in ed tech and the tools that are out there, it's kind of like, is this going to stick around? Or is it a passing fad? And I think people are realizing more like, yeah, these things aren't going away, and they're seeing the benefits of them. And it's like just another emerging technology. And a lot of these, like the AR, the VR, the AI, people tend to think, I know in conversations that I've had, it's like, oh, it's new. And like none of these are new. Like these are things and technologies that have been around for years. It's just you didn't realize that it was something that you were relying on in your everyday life, whether it's like, oh my gosh, Netflix knows me and it makes a recommendation, or things that you might be using in the classroom that have AI already built into it. So when I've had some different sessions, it's great to have people that come in that are from like tech companies and say, hey, in my work, we've been using this product and now we're building in the AI, and this is the difference. Because one, I'm not an expert. I understand a good amount of the technical kind of components of it, but seeing all of those things come into play together and what the benefits are, I'm thinking like, and this is totally maybe far-fetched, but imagine as students are learning using augmented reality, like if I could go back to the ninth grade with geometry and I could have merge cube, for example, and I could look at the shapes and I could see and understand. So I wouldn't get the grades that I got in geometry. But then let's say you add in the AI component, and as I'm interacting with that, it can track whether or not I'm understanding the different angles and the different shapes, and it can give me extra practice, converging those. And again, I'm making this up on the fly. Like that would be really cool, especially like things like the solar system where you're like, okay, I still cannot remember where the planets are in their order. So it's going to keep giving you some practice. I think we'll start to see, especially then if you start diving into metaverse conversations as well, and all of these components coming in together. I think it's a really exciting time, not just in education, but in the world. I've gotten a lot of questions, and I'm sure you have too, about, should we ban these things? Should we bring these things into our classroom? I've said no. I mean, we have to be cautious, of course, with all of the things that we have to worry about, but we're in the best position as educators to bring these into our classrooms, to work with our students. And we don't have to be the experts, but to like learn with them and definitely from them, because these things are going to be in their future because they're here now. So I will be curious to see, if we go back 5 years from now and have this conversation, like what the technology is like, even a year from now, because of how rapidly it's changing.
We know that great teaching tends to be hands-on and real world. And what's the first thing we do when we're really trying to teach something? We do a hands-on project. We have them create, we have them do all of that. But what if all those creation materials are right at our fingertips and don't require all the setup, don't require the teacher to have to go out and beg on Twitter or whatever to finish my list so that I can do all the hands-on stuff? And it's just built into the classroom and the environment. I mean, I think there is so much potential. And of course, anything with a lot of potential can be clunky at first, but there's so many things that can happen. So as we finish up, Rachelle, where the educators that want to follow you and follow all the trends and keep up with what's going on without getting overwhelmed, what's your advice for them?
Yeah, you just need to dive in is the first thing, and not worry about being an expert, because anything, if anybody has ever heard me speak, what I say it often, I'm like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew what I was doing wasn't working. Or I know that as a Spanish teacher, not all of my students are going to be Spanish teachers. So you have to get rid of the word just in your vocabulary when you say I'm just and there are opportunities to learn about all these technologies that we talked about, whether you're pre-K through 12 or higher education, because there's a lot that's out there that's for free. So you don't have to do all the things. You just have to think about something you teach in your classroom, and how maybe AR, like my geometry example, could really give students that hands-on experience, especially if they're struggling with grasping shapes and things, and how it can enhance learning. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, just use this as an opportunity to really learn and connect with your students and show them that taking risks is okay. And there's plenty of resources out there to choose from. So no worries on that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Rachelle. Want to prepare your students for career and life success but short on time? Busy teachers use EverFi's standards-aligned, research-based digital lessons, recently awarded with the ISTE seal for high-quality curriculum, to teach students to thrive in an ever-changing world. Interactive, game-based lessons designed by experienced educators help you engage students at all grade levels and bring critical real-world skills like financial education, early literacy, character education, health and wellness, and more to your classroom. Thanks to partners, these lessons are free for all K-12 schools and students. With back-to-school season gearing up, now is an exciting time to give your students a jump start on their future. Go to everfi.com/CoolCat. That's everfi.com/CoolCat to learn more and sign up to get a virtual swag bag full of free goodies to get the school year off right to a great start. So sign up for EverFi today.
You've been listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. If you want more content from Vicki Davis, you can find her on Facebook, X.com, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at CoolCat Teacher. Thank you for listening.